Welcome back, Dota 2 fans. Game 2, Galaxy Battles 2 NA Qualifiers. Immortals taking on Leviathan. MRP, your resident Canadian Dota 2 caster here. And I've brought in former teammate of Whitebeard from Sneaky Nick's Assassins, Fluff. Brian, how you doing, man? Thoughts on Game 1?
Hey, what's up? I'm doing really good. That was actually a really nice game. I liked the laning setup that Leviathan went for. Like usually, I think I watched a little bit of Immortals versus Leviathan earlier. And their laning setup was a lot weaker, but this time all three bases pretty much had like Necro versus Tide. That's like a really easy lane. Surprisingly, like the tiny, with the new tree grab destroys puck, and then they gave monkeys a good lane. So like QO was kind of shut down. That was like the main thing that really got them the momentum.
Yeah, monkeys
in the game.
Monkeys was able to get an incredible amount out of that bottom lane, and yeah, I guess you could touch upon it a bit, but I was extremely surprised how well that mid lane went. I mean, I suppose you do have some presence from the Undying and the Ogre Magi in the mid lane early on, but MP came out a little bit hampered into that early mid game where BSJ kind of pole vaulted through.
I've even seen Tiny with the, just because you can AoE with off of the cleave with the tree branch. It's like I've seen Tiny's beat Vipers and stuff like that, just putting on some level 1, and it kind of snowballs the lane really hard.
Yeah, they definitely snowballed. Were able to even snag away a couple of ancient stacks from Immortals' side, and just never felt like Immortals had enough firepower for that very tanky Leviathan lineup. Either way, into the second draft we go here. Again, we'll see the Tusk and Bounty Hunter bands coming out from Leviathan side. Again, the Jakiro of Leviathan respected here by Immortals. They're going to pick up the Wyvern as they banned it in Game 1, and they're going to ban out the AA in response.
And we see like the Ogre again from Leviathan. I think they're trying to just take the aggression to Immortals. Like usually Immortals is known as the team that's going to be running around with a lot of meathead type support heroes, like creating space. But Ogre is just one of the best laning supports in the game, and like we saw really bullying Leviathan or Immortals in the last game on the lanes with Undying and Ogre's kind of strategy.
Yeah, they were absolutely kind of run at you, and it seemed very difficult to bring down. Whitebeard was all over the map. I mean, he got a lot of dewarding done. He almost never... I mean, you expect him to kind of tank smokes and get some aggressive vision down for his squad, but he almost never was punished for it. So it really made some very nice movements throughout the game. Immortals, I believe... we at least saw the Razor ban from either team. It might have been Leviathan in Game 1, but Leviathan going to pick it themselves here. Of course, nice to have up against the Winter's Curse and the Cold Embrace. If you don't get caught in the initial kind of Winter's Curse or Cold Embrace, you can get that static link off. Good to fight into the early game. And I guess it's a bit of a flex pick, mid or more safe lane available for that Razor.
Yeah, my screen kind of bugged out right now. Is yours still going? Did Immortals pick a second hero? Or not yet?
They didn't yet. Let me just hop into Skype and add you.
All right.
Discord's being a little Mr. Destructoid on us. But feel free to continue to walk us through the draft as I do this.
Sure. Am I like kind of? Or is it okay?
It's not bad, but you're cutting out at times. So.
Right.
All right, added you on Skype.
Should take a sec.
So Nick's Assassin pick from Immortals. I'm kind of taking a page the Game 1 book. I mean, Febby didn't seem to get all that much done. He was in the 4 position and was rather under-leveled in the early game, but they're unfortunately unable to kind of yield any gain from any sort of early Vendetta movement.
Yeah, Nyx is not really known for being that. Like, he doesn't put that much damage. He's more of like a control.
Nice. All right, let me just disconnect from Discord. Speak for me, friend.
Hello?
Yeah, I think this is better. This is probably the first time ever Shout out to Discord. But this is probably the first time ever Skype has sounded better. But you sound good, so I think we can move forward with this for now.
All right, cool. Yeah. I'm a little confused about the Razor, but I think it has something to do with the draft order. Like obviously when you're, they have to pick two heroes first to show, and the Razor is kind of a flex pick in the sense that he can go either safe lane or mid.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important, at least in this meta, to draft heroes that are flexible because laning is so important now. I think it's a lot less about like your overall strategy, and it's more about just trying to win those 3 lanes. And Razor's definitely one of those heroes that can take over either safe lane or mid, depending on the matchup.
Do you consider anything high on the radar of Leviathan to ban, against that Razor? Is there any hero that can actually trade with him in lane?
Some common picks are like people run Sniper. I think Medusa was fine from the mid lane, but Sniper just kind of outranges Razor and gives him a hard time in the mid and late game just because it's so hard for Razor to run into him.
Right.
But I think that's just such a kind of like a random pick overall. It's not high priority in any way. Yeah. So you don't really account for that, especially since you can put in the safe lane as well.
And definitely Sniper not a pick that you want to be revealing early in your draft. But we'll see if it's on Immortal's radar, going forward. We get the Naga ban coming out from Leviathan. Where do you see this hero fluff recently? I've been surprised to even see it picked up, but it definitely seems like it has some merit as a support.
It's like a any insider kind of thing. We all know that QO is Naga in his pubs, and it's one of the heroes that he really enjoys. So that's just like, they're preparing against QO because he's kind of like the ultimate like flex pick for Immortals. They try to pick him as the 5th hero pick overall and give him the best game possible. It's just like a really polarizing type of hero, and that's just definitely one of his favorites.
Kind of changes the way you have to play the game. Perhaps not necessarily something that Leviathan wants to deal with. Definitely seems like they're a team that groups up quite often. I mean, we saw Garter kind of AFK for the first while last game, but as soon as they hit their item timings and are able to take a few early objectives, definitely seems like they move kind of as a unit.
Oh, the Undying again. So they have this Undying Ogre, and Nyx is not really known for being too great of a laning support.
Right.
And, Wyvern's pretty much, he got nerfed recently, so his laning's not as good. And then you have this Ogre Undying, it's just going to put a ton of pressure. They can even aggro tri-lane the Razor and give Monkeys a really good safe lane matchup, depending on what they see. So they have a lot of flexibility here in the lanes, and that's really good for them.
Beginnings of both drafts have seemed very promising for Leviathan. Another thing to mention about that Ogre Undying combination is that they don't really, so far at least, in this safe lane with the Wyvern and the Nyx Assassin, Nyx is not a great hero to be hitting Tombstone. So running at you with, decays and ignites, and then you only having kind of maybe Arctic Burn Wyvern, pending the safe lane pick to hit that Tombstone. Certainly seems to bode well for Leviathan. Immortal's going to pick up the Quap here, so I suppose a bit of a flex pick, but more than likely towards the mid lane for them.
Yeah, and same thing for that. They even put the Quap in the safe lane as well. But I think on the Leviathan side, they're probably thinking of just putting this Razor safe lane because you can't really link up the Quap, and she's going to get the runes and push out the waves of the Scream, so it's pretty easy lane for her. And the Sand King is a really good overall pick because they have to. So like Sand King just overall puts a ton of pressure on the lane, especially when he knows that he's gonna have either an Undying or Ogre like start the lane off for him. And you want to pick heroes that limit the opponent's hero pool. So that's kind of what Sand King does, because you don't want to put a lot of melees versus him because the cost is too much to deal with in lane.
Yeah, very few carries that can kind of sustain through that. And Leviathan should have all of them on their radar. Batrider is going to be the pickup here for Immortals, so this is more than likely going to indicate that, as you mentioned, Queen of Pain going to take towards that mid lane, and then therefore Leviathan will probably avoid her with the Razor. So looking for a mid laner here for Leviathan, you think?
Well, like Immortals can still go either way. They can still pick a mid carry, but the Bat was a pretty nice pick because it can lane really well versus the Razor, I think, or at least once you start building up the napalms, I think Razor's gonna have a hard time dealing with Firefly, so that's a good way to pressure the Razor into either being mid. Yeah, for Leviathan, I think they need a harder carry here. Like Razor's not, he's kind of a semi carry.
Yeah.
And that he can't really win the game by himself. They don't. Do they have the last overall pick? Yeah, they do. So Leviathan is just gonna wait to see what Immortals picks, and then they're gonna just try to pick the best hero for the game. So that's probably gonna need a little bit of time. And then Immortals. Last time they went with the Gyro versus the Undying. The good thing about Razor is that Razor's pretty good against Gyro because if you can link him up in the fights, he doesn't really want to run away. He wants to run in, and you're gonna steal like ton of damage.
Do you want to briefly explain that gyro pick to me? Is it just you can flock off the tombstone?
Well, Gyro's not a bad laner versus Sand Like you saw, even though they harassed the lane with the Ogre and then dying, the Sand King still had like 4 CS in the first minute because because Gyro has the range and he can spam rocket.
Yeah,
and that's really good against Sand King. But also, I think they were thinking about the tombstone. They didn't. They wanted to use the flak to clear the zombies.
Right.
That's a natural thought process. The PL is really a nice pick here, but I'm kind of worried because Sand King is pretty good against PL at all stages of the game, especially when he picks up Ags. Because when you burrow strike in, it applies caustic to all the illusions, and they can do crap tons of damage as well as just clear it out. And also, if PL went safe lane, Sand King would just destroy him. So I think that PL has to go mid.
Dragon Knight.
Okay.
And Leviathan picks DK. DK is overall really good against PL. You can easily single target him out. I would like to see the DK pick up a Soul Ring because if you get Diffusal Bladed up, Mana Broken, you need to be able to cast like either a Clutch Stun or Fire Breath.
Yeah.
But I don't really see too much late coming from Leviathan here. So, but at the same time, Immortals, they're all in on this PL, and PL's matchups. He's going to have a lot to deal with. So it's pretty even here. There's like no team has a real clear like late game advantage. It's kind of like very mid game oriented lineups here.
Yeah, before that Dragon Knight pick, Leviathan did feel a little bit disable light, and they did ban out the anti-mage. So kind of a similar vein, the PL, a little bit elusive in that respect. And they do kind of shore up their disable from Leviathan side with that 5th pick Dragon Knight. As you mentioned, he's also got the Breathe Fire and the splash damage, so pretty darn good at dealing with the PL. See how Immortals gets off. For now, it is going to be QO picking up that PL. So for now, at least, the loadout looks like safe lane from Immortals.
He'll go mid pretty often. Like MP and Q are gonna swap off however they need, but I don't want to see a PL in safe lane versus King because it's just so hard for him to lane. And he will probably do fine mid versus a DK. Like,
yeah,
it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, melee matchup. DK doesn't have the greatest right click early on. Often loads out with like Stout Shield, Quelling Blade. So gotta agree with you there. Yeah, who am I? I mean, QO mid lane. Well, that was like his role, right? Derp.
Yeah, they swap it up. He has what safe lane items right now, maybe? Mango, Tango Stout. Queen of Pain has mid items, so I think that will go for a standard setup, I guess, based on items. They need to be really careful though, because if the Sand King with like one of those big supports gets like an early laning advantage, it's pretty hard for PL to deal with cost of lane supports. But that being said, like that will probably do pretty fine in the off lane, and there are no natural counters to Batrider. So whenever there's no natural counters to Batrider, he always feels really free to just go for initiations whenever he feels like it, and he's probably one of the best initiators in the game. So that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, he can be a major nuisance in the lanes as well with Ogre Undying support duo. Not too much to lock him down. Does opt for the boots first as well, so definitely slated to have a fairly easy time early on. Them picking the Nyx Assassin up themselves, as you mentioned, kind of covering their bases. It is going to be BSJ loading out on the Razor. We did see him go mid last game, but more than likely can take towards a safe lane here. as you mentioned, not a great matchup against the co-op.
He's already building up for it. He has the Magic Stick level 1 fully upgraded. So he already knows that he's going to be playing against a Bat Rider. And whenever I see a DK, it's always really hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
Because he can either go really crazy, like he farms Ancients with the Dragon form, he has tons of farm and does damage, or he just, I don't know, he builds really passive types of items like Treads Armlet and just sits there and does nothing. But in this game, Dragon Tail has a lot of really good uses for locking down targets, and I don't know. I want to see how Carter plays this because it really depends on the player.
He should be fine mid lane though, at least in a 1v1 in a vacuum. You think with the Dragon Blood?
Yeah, he'll be fine. He can just regen through everything, and he has strong laning supports as well.
All right, we'll see how these lanes shake down as both teams load and well. Rev with a ward on his person has boots first. Nusham, same setup on his side with the Undying.
Looks like Immortals are going to play level 1 pretty passively, and rightfully so because Leviathan supports are so strong. They can probably bully off that top rune. It looks like BSJ might give up bottom though because he's unsure of what's happening, and the sticky napalm's pretty dangerous level 1.
Sitting on the high ground for now, at least. Same kind of thing we saw with the early aggressive movement from Leviathan last game, and still both teams kind of trading 2-2 bounty runes.
There's kind of a big difference in this game. If you see Quap is standing mid blocking and DK is going for the bounty rune top. Normally you have a support go block mid if your mid is going to get the bounty rune.
Right.
But this is going to be a problem for DK because the Quap's going to have a much better block in level 1. Just in exchange for a bounty. I think Leviathan should have blocked out mid for him if they wanted the mid to get the bounty.
Yeah, and a nice play by Whitebeard and Leviathan side. They bring the Ogre bottom lane feeling, confident enough top that they're going to be able to body them off, and they get 3 runes to begin this one. BSJ picking up the bottom one. Forev actually going to get right-click down a bit here. Does get into the Firefly, so that means he skilled Firefly here, level 1 in the lane.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty bad for him. Or, I mean, he might have planned to just drag the wave in general, but yeah, Napalm... Maybe he doesn't want to napalm, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, getting the wave will put him very close, if not the full level 2, right? So I guess he'll be okay. 2-man decay for Nusham out top lane, and this is going to be hell early on here for QO. But does have his Dubu Winter Wyvern nearby. Mid lane trading from Febby and Whitebeard.
It's too easy for the Ogre in this situation. he even just says okay, he's like... Yeah, there's nothing you can do to me.
Oh, you want to trade with me, do you? Nusham, speaking of which, similar kind of vein, this hero. 20 stacks of strength already from the level 1 decay. It's actually going to drag the wave down, force QO to last hit under tower as well. Good lane, though.
Pretty good laning overall. Sorry.
No, not at all. Mid lane, though, still doing okay as MP. I mean, he doesn't feel all that threatened by the Ogre. Although he can't stand and trade with him, he can retreat if need be. BSJ, bottom lane.
BSJ.
Couple stacks of Napalm, indeed, and 2 TPs inbound here. Can they get him down? Burrow Strike will connect at least through the Bat Rider. BSJ, though, still taking a lot of damage. Looks like he's going to drop. Fairy Fire will not save him. Febby will drop to the tower. Monkeys has a Burrow in 1 second. And Caustic with the Burrow. Now Whitebeard rotating through. Couple more right clicks. They'll get the return kill. In fact, they'll get 2 as Febby drops early. But still, BSJ secured for Immortal's side.
That's interesting. Now Sand King's bottom, so they had to TP the Razor top. And, I think they really wanted to keep the Sand King versus appeal, but now BSJ's he's going to have to see how he can do in this. I think it's okay for the first couple levels, but eventually the PL will be spamming him out, I think.
PL not all that threatened by the Razor as well, where, as you mentioned, the Sand King certainly makes his lane a lot more difficult. So perhaps not perfectly ideal here as far as the laning configuration post that kill, but Mid lane, rotating around looking for the courier. Whitebeard, he's actually going to see it, I believe. It is daytime walking in mid lane. And yeah, he will be able to juke away from the ogre. Garter 10-1 mid lane MP with the 6 denies, so still doing fairly well. Does get hit with the breathe fire as well as the ignite here, so kind of force back. Uses the last tango. Courier on the way to base, so he's going to be perhaps a bit threatened here for a moment until he can ferry out some regen. Meanwhile, top lane.
Top lane.
Yeah, they get the Lance. Splinter Blast is there as well. Febby nearby with the Carapace on the return from the Plasma Field. Connects on the... Oh, big decay, though. The PL getting low. Nusham out of mana, however, on the Undying. They do get the BSJ kill. And TP's inbound from Monkeys. QO, though, still rather healthy now and has 4 wand charges. So they'll get the kill top lane. Febby going to cop himself a decay and actually forced to back away. Perhaps baiting stick charges there, as he did have the 3 stick charges and impale. But either way, they will get the kill for Immortal side on BSJ. Second of the game for this Razor, and he makes his way back down to bottom.
Yeah, the Sand King TP bottom for the counter gank would just made the laning really awkward. If Leviathan didn't have such good laning supports, probably that could have been a huge mistake. But luckily, like, Undying could kind of support the Razor top. Just I don't know. I think Razor should just TP bottom again, because now he's having such a hard laning phase. Already dying 2 times and kind of under level.
Certainly so. Sitting on level 4.
The full level behind that.
Not a situation you want to be in as a Razor, especially if you're left 1v1. Top lane, Lance does fly out for Monkeys. Mana is not quite there for QO for the second one, but he does Doppelganger the Burrow away and has a couple of wand charges. Meanwhile, you just touched upon it for Rev, bot lane. Just higher level than the Razor, just takes him down at the 3-1-1 build. Third spill of the game for BSJ.
And that's kind of the problem with picking the Razor so early. Like, Immortals had such a good laning matchup, like being able to pick the Bat versus Razor kind of confines where Razor can go. Mid lane DK just easy pick off there.
We get the ward up on the ground, and Febby just kind of runs into him in the river. They'll be able to bring him down despite the damage reduction from Breathe Fire. So nice couple of happenstances here for Immortal's side in the early game. QO feeling pretty good. Making his way back to the jungle while his lane is pushed out a little far away from the tower, and should see him return shortly. But you know, BSJ, for what it's worth, you know, net worth wise, no pun intended, keeping up admirably. But
yeah,
he has fallen 3 times. Only the 22 CS on the Razor, but still in contention at the moment. UO top lane. Nusham going to body him up on the Undying. 2-1-1. So Tombstone at the ready is only level 1. Monkey's going to roll through. Going to catch a lance to the face. And now Tombstone going to be dropped. QO forced the Doppelganger. They have the Burrow. They save it. But there is a Wyvern inbound. So will be a hard kill. QO going to start to work on the level 1 Tombstone, as does Dubu. Get some Arctic Burn off onto these 2 heroes from Leviathan side, and Decay will keep Nusham in fighting shape. QO does not have the Doppelganger. He'll drop this Undying. Far too tanky. Dubu probably finds himself a return kill here. There is TP mana from Nusham. One more right click, though, is going to be there. But meanwhile, for Rev, taking out BSJ again. Bottom lane, 7-3 in the early game for Immortal side. They do end up losing QO's PL. Not entirely ideal, but, you know, his laning equivalent in the Razor has dropped 4 times now in this one.
And this is like, this early game, it's only being salvaged by the fact that the supports are so strong. It's kind of impressive, but the fact that the Razor versus Bat matchup is just so bad and he's already under leveled, that BSJ is going to have a hard time finding a place in this game, a lane to go to and just farm.
Garter pops up the Dragon form mid lane. Whitebeard going to join him here. And Courier may have caught a glimpse of the Ogre. They do ping him out. MP in trouble now. They get in range for the Fire Blast. Do they have enough damage, though? Dragon Tail will be there. MP is going to drop. Impale comes through, and Forev joins the fray as well. They're trying to get the return kill on the DK. He sticks up, but Not going to save him. Newsham going to pop the tombstone, try and slow up Forev. He's taking a lot of damage with 4 napalm stacks, and he'll drop. And Forev in this early game for Immortals has been an absolute menace. Monkeys, though, rotating through. Impale from Febby actually connects after the burrow, and we'll see if it's enough to save Forev. He has a flame break, will bounce the Sand King, unfortunately, down to the low ground, which does force him up the high ground, and Monkeys will get the mango off, as you mentioned. Febby going to be there with a sentry, though, an MP off his rebirth. Going to come back and find themselves another kill in a chaotic engagement mid lane. Febby bottled up. Sonic Wave flying through. He gets into the pit. Newsham very low. Ern is there as well. They're going to try and trade, and they'll take out the Undying. Garter used Dragon Tail already. Whitebeard can't get off the Fire Blast with that big animation. MP going to end up making it back. So Forev rotating through to the mid lane. Grabs a couple of kills after they kill off the Queen of Pain with the DK going down and the Undying. But
Newsham was
back through.
Just like 0.1 second off decay, and he would have killed the Nyx. And that was kind of unfortunate for him. Bottom lane Bat's already going on Razor again. Razor can't do anything about this. He's just going to die for free.
BSJ, yeah, 3 stacks of napalm, and Forev just styling in this one on the Bat Rider. Top of the net worth already, and 6, 2, and 3 on the Bat. He's level 9, highest in the game. He's going to be joined by his 2 supports shortly as they look to put some pressure perhaps into this tower. He's going to look to cut the wave, but there is a smoke inbound from the Radiant side. Garter down the hill, pops the Dragon Form, gets a Dragon Tail off onto the Nyx. He will get the Carapace for now. Tombstone is down though. Forev in trouble. They're going to turn and focus the Bat Rider. He's worth a lot at this point. Going to try and Firefly up to the high ground, and he does. BSJ comes through with the Plasma Field. Burrow Strike will be short of the Bat from Monkeys. He needs to get there in time. In the meantime, Dubu ends up going down. Forev still on a wild goose chase here. Will be brought down to the tower, and the Unstable Current passive. MP though not joining that fight, and neither did QO. So they do get 2 kills. Pretty big rotation, and they'll use the Dragon Form for it as well. Looks like it will be a Dragon Form used. No real tower pressure gain, but a couple of kills for Leviathan nonetheless.
This is kind of like the battle of the offlaners right now. Monkeys versus Forev. Forev's obviously got a lot done, but Monkeys is keeping up pretty well. And Farm Sand King with the Blink Dagger next coming up. That could really change the way the fights go. So we want to look for that Sand King Blink.
Did opt for the Soul Ring on Garter's DK, as you mentioned.
It's a really good choice.
Mid, yeah, BSJ being pressured back, and this is kind of what you were alluding to earlier. He just has nowhere to go and farm on this Razor, and definitely not a comeback hero, or one that, you know, was gifted with a comeback mechanic naturally. Forev bottom lane's gonna catch a decay, but he's got the drums, so should feel pretty safe. Now Dubu gonna drop down a sentry and a ward, and immediately that's a feels bad, man. The ward gonna be taken out by Garter. Febby hanging around here, and rotation from the east coming through from Forev. Now they'll jump in towards the Ogre. Arctic Burn gonna fly out on 2 heroes, and it'll force Garter back. Whitebeard will just play Sacrificial Lamb for his squad. Still though, fairly tanky, gonna stick up, get the Bloodlust off. Febby has a stun in 1 second. And Whitebeard trying to juke it out will be unsuccessful in doing so, as QO's made his way down to the bottom lane now as well. Starting to put some pressure into the tower. Garter mid lane going to catch a Scream of Pain. And rotation is coming through from Febby. Still 9 seconds until he has the Vendetta, however. Does have a ward on his person. They opt to place it down here in lane. And for now, Garter going to back off because of it.
They took the top lane tower, and now Monkeys is the highest network in the game, so this is really, really good for them. And QO opted for bots first, so his defusal is going to be a little bit slower. If the Sand King can get to Blink Dagger, and they take some fights around that point, that's where they're going to really have a good power spike to fight against Immortals.
Garter mid lane is barely in tower range, and Febby standing outside of it. Vendetta. Newsham actually nearby as well. Invisible. Radiant Sentry is down. Feb able to walk outside the periphery of it for now. But it looks like Leviathan going to assemble as 4 here. Monkey still farming in the top lane. They jump for it onto the DK in mid lane, but Newsham is there with the heal and the decay. They turn it with a Dragon Tail. Febby, he's left for dead. And conveniently so, Dragon Form going to be used to continue to pressure into this tower. Meanwhile, Monkeys has found Forev. This would be a huge kill if they can find it. Nice flame break from Forev. He's going to pop the jump charge off, but the epicenter slow is there. Plasma field coming through as well. Unstable current hits him and slows him for a moment, and the Burrow Strike will come through and kill him off. Now on the south side, Dragon Tail off, and two-man Breathe Fire for MP. MP does get the Sonic Wave and Scream off onto the... But it's just an Ogre kill. Garter doesn't even get hit by it, and Febby now kind of TPing into trouble as Dragon Tail will find him. Burrow Strike will kind of completely overlap with the Dragon Tail, unfortunately, so he does end up getting away via the Vendetta, but still Garter standing strong, putting in work into this mid lane tower. Febby nearby gets the Vendetta off. Nice reaction by the DK as he gets the Dragon Tail off. Two-man Decay comes through from the south, and QO forced the Doppelganger up to the high ground. Does take out BSJ. Garter now getting off a Breathe Fire, and the Burrow Strike coming through from Monkeys. It will barely whiff onto QO's PL. MP forced back. Now Forev, though, back into the fray. And Batrider does have the lasso available. Not going to expend it just yet. And just short of his Blink Dagger gold as well. So very long, drawn-out engagement when all is said and done. The Tier 1 does end up going down to Garter in the mid lane. They do, however, lose BSJ for it.
Yeah, I think that's in Leviathan's favor, because Sand King has a Blink Dagger and 100 gold, and Kyo was forced to come to that fight. He did take the Tier 2 bottom before that fight, before he TP'd into the fight, so that's really nice for him. He's going to go for Yasha, so he's just going purely for this Rising build. Again, once we get the Blink on the Sand King, which we did right now, the fights are going to be a lot easier for Leviathan to take. As you saw it, they almost did bring down QO in that fight, but Monkey's Burrow Strike was just barely off. Yeah. Once he has the Blink Dagger, they're going to be able to lock those targets down and just finish them off.
And speaking of which, as soon as they pick it up, looking to make a movement. Monkey's trying to flank from the north side as Garter and his tandem of supports making their way towards the mid lane. Dubu positioned nicely, however, and MP not going to get Dragon Tailed up. Monkeys, though, looking to get the blink off, and he does find the Wyvern. It's an easy kill. They'll throw the Tombstone on the high ground as well. QO coming through from the south, and Febby is there. Doesn't hit the Impale onto Nushim. Gets the Soul Rip off, trying to make it away. And now Lasso on the south side is going to be able to find one. That's Monkeys, but he gets the Burrow and the Breathe Fire from the Logan. Plasma Field finishes off Forev. Now Dragon Tail on the north side is going to find the Nyx Assassin. Garter trying to kill him off. Getting rather low. Will be able to dodge away from the Impale. QO in trouble on the high ground. Epicenter and the Plasma Field finish him off. 3 for 1 for Immortals at this point. Garter has the armlet, so should still be able to push, but overall, I mean, Leviathan rather unhealthy despite taking a fairly handy win in this mid lane.
Yeah, and like they want to keep taking these fights with the Sand King Blink right now, because since PL went for this kind of greedy build, he actually swapped out of his Yasha and his quick fight to a Diffusal. He was recognizing that, yeah, he can't go full greed. He needs to be able to participate in the fights. And right now, like, Leviathan wants to exploit that timing where the PL went for bots, because they obviously have like a really good teamfight advantage with the Tombstone, the Sustain. All their core heroes are really tanky, and they have tons of low cooldown abilities that they can just rinse and repeat, and the biggest one being the Burrow Strike and the Sand King.
Mid lane BSJ, he's going to get clipped by the Spike Carapace here. Does pop the Eye of the Storm and has some support inbound, but they have enough burst damage with the Arcane Rune as well for MP to bring him down, and BSJ, a little bit of hubris in the mid lane, is going to get punished for it, as conveniently Febby was nearby. A couple of right clicks being put into this mid lane tower, but not a major commitment from Immortals. Forev actually looking for more, has his Blink Dagger available. Will at least take a stack away from his enemies, a couple of stacks in fact.
BSJ is going to go for a Blade Mail. He's kind of like, yeah, I have 5k network right now. And that's probably the best way I'm going to be able to deal damage, which is not a bad thought. Because, I mean, I don't know what else he can get to come back in this game. He's going to do a ton of damage.
Monkeys jumping mid lane, two-man Burrow and the Epicenter. Decay on top, MP does survive. And QO, not sure that he'll be so lucky. Winter's Curse is a big one here, though, on the south side by Dubu. It will not be able to kill off BSJ, however, even with the Splinter Blast. And after all that, somehow, just one casualty, in that fight. Monkey's up to the high ground, gets a burrow strike off. Spike Careless will reflect some damage though, and he's in trouble. No detection. Well, Dust comes out now, and they do find him. BSJ going to deny the tower in the mid lane. In the meantime, Garter up front is going to get flame breaked here. Gets the Dragon Tail off onto Forev, however, and they will be able to follow it up with a lot of damage as BSJ and Whitebeard coming through. Fire Blast keeping him in place. So on the back end of that, Forev actually going to go down, and not an inconsequential kill at all. He was worth quite a bit at the moment. So on the back end, Leviathan finding a
Monkey
nice
got baited so hard there.
Yeah.
Kyo just had his finger on Doppelwalk, and then Febby was there with the Carapace. That was a big mistake, because if Monkeys was up in that fight, they could still take more pressure, or make more pressure, but he's kind of the linchpin of their lineup right now. He can't afford to overextend like that.
Yeah, definitely feeling confident as, you know, the last couple of engagements, he certainly kind of had his way as far as initiation went. Speaking of which, Blink Dragon Tail top lane, but that's kind of the full complement until Monkeys joins and MP able to blink his way out to safety.
PL's going to finish his defusal now, and we'll have to see how that affects the fight, but he still has a big problem against the Sand King, because you saw at the beginning of that fight, the FB came through, and he had 10% at the, you know, pretty much after the burrow. He has to play a little bit more back and wait for his opportunity, kind of pick and choose where he's going to go in. Yeah. Otherwise, he's going to have a hard time getting in and doing damage.
Yeah, kind of similarly to, you know, what you're alluding to as far as Monkeys being the initiator. Feels like MP and QO rather reliant on both Febby and Forev. We'll see who's able to kind of get the jump. Vision is pretty good for the Dire side right now, at least in the bottom half of the map, as they look to facilitate kind of their split push into this bottom lane where, as you mentioned, the tier 2 taken down recently. Lasso comes through, but there's a big rotation coming in. Monkey's going to hit 2 with the burrow, and Nusham gets a 2-man decay, and the Dragon Tail will be there to take out the Queen of Pain. Forev in trouble, gets his blink canceled, and he's going to be dropping here momentarily as well. And it's a big kill streak for MP ended for Nusham on the Undying. So he gets 460 gold from the first kill, about 300 from the second as well. And a big influx of gold overall going the way of that Radiant lineup. Even with 2 Dire Wards that I was just mentioning in this area, they're kind of caught out as they use the lasso in that bottom lane. And it's going to cost them not only their Queen of Pain and Bat, but at least this tier 1 in the bottom lane.
That was a nice bait. They kind of recognize that BSJ is just going to keep getting gone on, and they smoke towards them. Got a nice double kill.
Monkey's top lane goes for the burrow. QO going to be able to dodge it once again, and with the Diffusal Blade actually doing quite a bit of work into the Sand King, they will kill him off. And they'll get the tower as well. Well, Glyph is going to be there. Breathe Fire as well. Garter with the defensive blink back. BSJ actually TPing right in the middle of it all, and takes a lot of damage here. Splinter Blast flying will not kill him off. Tombstone going to be dropped down. Nusham is there. They do get the Dragon Tail off onto the next assassin, but in the meantime, the Tombstone was taken out. Now Winter's Curse is there. No target's going to be caught in it, but Nusham's going to be taken out on the east of the Diffusal Blade. And look how much work they've been able to do with this item pickup from QO, as they'll find the 3rd kill top lane, and just a bit of chain feed, it seems, from Leviathan. A bit of miscommunication. Monkeys goes in, dies. They still choose to take the fight. BSJ TP's in front, and Garter blinks back defensively, and the 3 of them kind of taken out one by one.
Oh god, that was like the worst thing they could have done. Just Monkey's trying to go in, but he had no team to back him up. And Kyo was just juking him all day with the Doppelwalk. He needs to be a bit more careful. He's been punished multiple times throughout this game.
Fire Blast going to fly out onto MP. Flame Break, though, and the Shadow Strike onto Whitebeard, and he should be dead here. Firefly will ensure to that. Febby going to join the fray as well. And MP does pick up his Yule's Scepter. He has taken quite a bit of damage from Monkey's initiations in the last few engagements, so it'll be perhaps nice to dodge a burrow or a bit of an epicenter. Yuo has now assumed top position as far as net worth goes here, 22 minutes in, so as you were mentioning, backing off from that kind of greedy route and looking to fight with his teammates has certainly paid dividends. You know, granted, Leviathan kind of gave them one in the top lane.
Yeah, Leviathan's kind of losing their power spike here. They had a really big window where they needed to take a lot more fights, or at least take bigger fights in their advantage, but PL's getting closer to his late game or his mid game peaks where he gets a bit more strength S and Y. It's gonna be a big problem for them.
Top lane Garter does find the Wyvern, and perhaps he was expecting a little bit more nearby as he did instantly pop into the dragon form, but they aren't far away from this tower. He'll soul ring up, and with the breathe fire takes out the wave rather quickly. Bottom lane, no tier 2 available, so MP can't really get much in the way of counter pressure going. BSJ will join up with his Dragon Knight in the top lane. A full unit, in fact, of Leviathan. Going to look to take out this tier 2. MP going to try and force them back with some pressure into this bottom lane, but not going to commit all that heavily. Glyph going to be popped in the top lane. Garter earned up, and Febby nearby, but the Radiant do have a sentry there. They don't have vision, however, now being nighttime. QO going to jump forward onto Whitebeard, takes him out almost instantly. Now Forev going to jump through, gets the last off. Two-man Sonic Wave. Looks like Leviathan could be in trouble here. BSJ dropping low, Splinter Blast coming through. Nusham taken out while trying to TP away Garter. And Monkeys will be able to TP away, it seems. Oh, the Yules from MP, the long TP on Garter. This is a major kill for them to give up as the Dragon Knight in the top lane. 10k net worth at this point. And he ends up dropping. And the setup from Immortals on that fight, as they just get into the backlines, take out the Ogre instantly with QO. And, you know, we kind of touch upon in the draft stream, at this point in the game, feels like they have very few answers to this PL.
That was a really good play by Immortals. When MP is forcing on bottom, it creates a lot of confusion in the team communication. Leviathan's probably like, oh, is someone going to pour back? Someone going to pour back? And then I think Whitebeard probably was calling like, hey, everyone stay. I was going to note that they did a really impressive thing by sticking around as a unit, because it was pretty clear that Immortals was going to pursue them. But the problem was that they were so out of position. Monkeys was in the front lines. He got picked off first. He had a really ineffective burrow and couldn't cast Epi. And that really changed the fight for them.
So perhaps a little bit of mind games for Immortals is going to propel them to that team fight win, and not only that, but the Roche thereafter. First of the game, QO is going to pick up an Aegis for himself and to continue to scale in this one.
The problem when your Sand King is your main initiator is that he can't go in with Epi. Like, he's much more effective when he can have the enemy team group up, Epi, and then blink in. So I think the way they need to take the fights is DK needs to blink in first, kind of selflessly, and get them to group up on him, soak some damage, and then let the Sand King reinitiate with the Epi. Just kind of clean them up that way. That's the best way they'll take the fights. If Sand King keeps burrowing in and dying, they're never going to have enough damage to clear out the illusions. And now that there's an Aegis on the field, it's looking pretty rough for them.
Yeah. Garter does seem to kind of have recognition of that role, as he did pick up the blink and is working on the BKB. He's not all that far away from it with the Mithril Hammer in the backpack, so just a couple hundred gold to go before he picks that up. Maybe that's the item they need to look to turn this again. However, there is an Aegis in the hands of the Dire side PL, and he's going to start to work on this tier 2. Not going to be any defense mounted, it seems, from the Leviathan side.
Yeah, they can't really do much at this point. They just have to sit high ground and hope that Immortals will make a mistake, give up that Aegis somehow.
Right to the bottom lane, QO will go. Spike Curious will keep BSJ in place, and he'll catch a Spirit Lance for his troubles. Forev trying to go in, doesn't get a lasso off. Garter going to jump forward with the BKB, gets the Dragon Tail off into the Bat Rider. He's in a lot of trouble. QO working on the Tombstone. Sonic Wave going to come through from MP, and they do bring down the Razor. Now the epicenter, though, from Monkeys is going to be there. He gets Carapace up, can't continue to pursue. Nusham is very deep, but is going to be brought down by QO. Garter just not enough damage. With the buyback from BSJ, though, they will be able to get the Wyvern and the Nyx. QO hanging around, still has an Aegis starting to work into the Dragon Knight, and with Monkeys nearby, they may just kill QO off again. They're TPing in the Ogre as well. They get the Dragon Tail, and they will get the PL. Nice. It does cost them a buyback on the Ogre, but a big kill for them to get, and their rack's still standing in the bottom lane.
Garter did a perfect job. He went in first, just like we talked about, and that really gave the Sand King space to get the correct initiation. He was a little out of position. If he could follow up immediately after the Dragon Tail, that would have been a lot more devastating for Immortals, but he did eventually catch up running from the mid lane tower to that bottom racks fight. Super big fight for them. Nice takedown of the Aegis. But now Quap has a Lincoln Spear. It's going to be a little bit more difficult. A little bit of breathing room for Leviathan, but still, I have the same concerns. They need to execute and make sure that Garter's still going in like that. Hopefully, it wasn't a fluke. I think that he went in there. That was like a decisive decision from him.
Yeah.
And hopefully, he keeps that up.
Yeah, fresh
But
BKB pickup. Seems like he felt pretty confident.
Look at BSJ though; he's still suffering. I mean, he can only blade mail. It's a lot of damage, granted, but I don't see how he's gonna scale. He's gonna go for a pipe next. He's kind of like he's trying to play like this utility Razor now at this point, and there's nothing else he can do really.
Yeah, it does feel.
Well, you see monkeys working towards the Ags, and that's gonna. We talked about that a little bit. Just the caustic application is gonna do lots of damage in the fight.
Yeah, and that does seem to be kind of the one major shortcoming with BSJ being, so underformed, is that do they really have the damage to follow up on these initiations? So Ags certainly can help in that regard. They are working on an AC for Garter. So Dragon Knight certainly, pulling his weight here, but QO working on the Shrine, and actually looks like Leviathan may be willing to jump this. He does have a Reaver, so fairly tanky. He's going to use the Doppelganger here. Febby going to look to scout, and now Garter's popped up the Dragon form. And with the Sentry, they will find the Nyx Assassin. He does get the Carapace off. BKB going to be popped up by Garter, though, and that'll mean he continues to pressure into this Nyx Assassin through the Winter's Curse. They can't keep the Tombstone up, however, and they do get the Dragon Tail off onto the PL. Do they have the follow-up, though? Sonic Wave going to hit through 4 from MP, and he takes out the Ogre on the backlines. Now QO looking to turn and run, and for now, he should be in a safe distance away. Monkeys still pressuring into Dubu. BSJ going to jump through. Burrow Strike does catch the Nyx Assassin, but he gets Carapaced up. Impale will be there as well. QO's been healing, and he'll work out on Monkeys and should be able to bring the Sand King down. Shrining up BSJ, Nusham, and Garter as Dragon Form about 75% of the way through. BSJ in trouble. He's going to get pursued down. Garter fighting up against Forev, but the Cold Embrace is there, and the Dragon Knight in trouble now. Triple kill for QO. MP is on a dominating streak as well, and Immortals just, despite a pretty good initiation, a very quick reaction from Febby on the Spike Carapace buys him just enough time for Dubu to come through with the Winter's Curse.
That honestly could have been a really good fight for Leviathan. I think there was a communication breakdown where when the fight sort of settled down, all the stuns went off in different directions. We saw Monkeys on the right, we saw DK on the left, stuns going through but no follow-up. If they had communicated or connected on some targets, they would have been able to bring down targets one by one, but I think, Immortals lineup is so elusive, they have lots of mobility, so I don't really blame them, but they definitely could have taken that fight. It just seemed that they got kind of outplayed there.
And unfortunately, none of these heroes have buyback, so it is going to mean at least 2 melee racks down, more than likely. Immortal's going to work on the second one in the mid lane, and we'll be able to eliminate here. Jump forward from Monkeys, gets the epicenter off. Spike Carapace will be there. 2-man Decay comes out. Febby, though, hits a 2-man Impale. Now Monkeys a little bit out of position. He is going to be lassoed up, and Nusham in trouble as well. QO working on him, finishes him off. BSJ in the front lines trying to do some work with the Blade Mail, and does get MP a little bit low, but he'll just blink to safety, and now QO will go to work on that Radiant Razor, and this should be the beginning of the end here, as Garter will be able to pop his BKB up, but QO rather undeterred. He will be brought down to the Breathe Fire, but MP going to rotate through, and now a volley of heroes from Immortal's side going to pincer in that Dragon Knight, and good game will be called as we see the 2 buybacks happen simultaneously. Fluff looked like a pretty good advantage in the early game for Leviathan, but a couple of key mistakes.
Yeah, it was not bad. I think even though BSJ had a rough game, you can't really blame him too much. The laning matchup was so difficult, and his hero got picked quite early. I think everyone performed pretty well. Garter did a really good job on the DK especially. But, BSJ being so far behind on one of your 2-position core, or your 1 position, however you want to look at it, that's going to just be such a big problem for you. And on top of that, they needed to execute a bit better in the mid game. When BSJ got picked off mid, that was a pretty big mistake for them, and they had a timing where they could be aggressive, but overall, like I would like to see BSJ's hero be picked a little bit later, because that was a really big problem in the laning phase.
Yeah, definitely so. Notably, that top lane fight where they kind of chain fed away their advantage seemed to be one of the turning points of the game. But either way, this series is going to take a turning point for now. Tied up to 1-1 after game 2, and the third of this best of 3 will be coming your way shortly, guys. Stick around. BTS, MRP, Fluff here, bring you all the action. We'll have Immortals versus Leviathan resuming shortly.